welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're here for the first time. My name is Rafaela, and I'm here today with a very special guest.
Hi.
So, for anyone who hasn't been following me for a while, I'm an ambassador at this organization called 2020 Levels, and a few weeks ago they had an event called 2020 Levels Conversations That Matter, and I met Dr. Nikita.
Hi.
And honestly, I was blown away and amazed by one, the vibe, like just a calm vibe, but now it all makes sense.
Oh.
It was a really calm vibe, really like safe and stuff. But then even like speaking to you, I was really taken back by your like journey, your trajectory, everything that you've done. So I approached her and decided, hey, do you want to be on the channel? And she actually kindly agreed. So I'm really, really excited. But I'll let you introduce yourself. So, Dr. Nikita, who are you?
Hi. So I'm Nikita. I'm a psychologist, counseling psychologist. Um, yeah. That's me in a nutshell. I'm married. Um, yeah.
I'm so excited. I am so excited. She's married. She's being really humble, but I feel like throughout the course of the conversation, we're going to dig into so much. And honestly, as I said, she's being humble about everything that she's doing and that she has done. But stay back, get comfortable, everyone, and let's get into it.
Sure.
So I like to make my guests feel comfortable so that,
Mm.
the conversations can be a bit more organic and flow naturally. So I like to play a would you rather question game. So what I'll be doing is I will ask you questions, and it's literally the first thing that comes to your mind. Okay, ready?
Mhm.
So would you rather be Rihanna or date Rihanna?
Be Rihanna. Yeah.
Would you rather spend a rainy day trying out a new recipe or marathoning movies?
Movie marathon, definitely.
Yeah, I think so
Yeah.
too. Would you rather spend a winter in the snowiest ranches of Canada or summer in the driest parts of the desert?
Summer in the desert.
Really?
Yes,
You don't like
absolutely.
winter?
Heat over cold anytime.
I love the cold.
No,
Because you know what
absolutely
it is?
not.
I feel like with the heat, like there are only so many layers that you can remove, and then you're still there and you're
Yeah,
hot.
you're too
Whereas like
hot.
at least for the winter you can add layers and then
No,
no.
it's freezing. I don't like the cold. I was not made for it at all.
Okay, so that is the end of the Would You Rather game. Are you feeling a little bit relaxed?
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
cool.
Hmm.
All right, so we will get into the conversation. So, as you said, you're obviously a counseling therapist. And so, my first question is growing up, many of us didn't see any therapists. And coming from especially a Black background, therapy isn't always spoken about, let alone positively. And I feel like although there's a little bit more awareness into it now, it still has a bit of a stigma around that. So, my first question is what inspired you to pursue this path despite not seeing representation growing up?
Very interesting question. Um, I was always fascinated by mental health. I remember watching documentaries from like the age of 10 when Channel 4 used to do those kind of documentaries
Yeah.
and just being hooked and fascinated and wanting to know more. I think then, as kind of I grew and life happened, I started to become the therapist in my friendship group.
Oh,
So I think just recognizing as a result of kind of difficult life experiences growing up as well,
yeah.
my need to have people to talk to and have people that understood me. And so I tried to be that for my friends. I was
Mm,
always checking on people and asking them how they were and stuff like that. So those are the beginnings of my interest. It was kind of just there.
yeah.
I got to, when you start to choose your subjects for sixth form, to make sure I chose psychology. And then I did some research whilst I was in sixth form to see, like, okay, so if I want to be a counselor or if I want to be a psychologist, what's the route?
Mm,
And yeah, looked at all of it, looked on the website called Prospects. That
mm-hmm.
was really, really helpful for just understanding what a day in the life would look like, what pay and progression would look like.
Yeah.
So I chose to be a counseling psychologist because I found that there was more opportunity for career progression, management, leadership
Yeah.
further down the line as opposed to in counseling.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, that's my That's my
Yeah.
story.
And I think what I find really interesting, actually, even going back to then, like how taboo counseling and therapy are, is that still within our communities, there are people who are often that go-to person that you go to for advice, etc. So now, like, okay, well, why not go to like a professional who can
Yeah,
actually like assist you? But there
yeah.
just seems to be that barrier. I don't know if it's like trust. Do you find that sometimes it may be like a trust aspect? People don't know whether to trust the professionals.
I think it's stigma. I think it's less about trust and more about stigma. Because if you think about it, like what you said,
Yeah,
people go to hairdressers. The hairdressers is
they
where it
know
all
all
goes
the
down.
tea. Yeah.
And my mum used to have a salon, so we heard everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hairdressers is where it goes down. Where else do people go? The nail shop sometimes.
Mm,
People, men would go to the barbers as
yeah.
well and
Yeah.
kind of divulge there. And so people make use of those spaces and sometimes their friendships.
Yeah.
I think it's more about stigma in terms of when we think about mental health
Yes.
and mental illness
Yes.
and whether it means that you're unwell if you are seeking help for something,
Mm,
if
mm,
that
mm,
makes sense,
mm.
whether it makes you mad, as they would
Yes.
say, or whatever, um, to be seeking help. And I think that's the problem that people have. I used to find, less so now than before, because I think the stigma in society is generally reduced, but
Mhm.
before I used to find clients coming and almost like presenting even within therapy like a front to make sure that I know that
Yeah.
they're not crazy and just
Mm,
that concern and almost like defensiveness about it. So it's really like an apprehension over the service or an
exactly.
apprehension over the process,
Yeah.
um, and also what it entails. I think that therapy hasn't I think as a profession in general, we're
Hmm.
not that transparent about
Okay.
what
Okay.
the process of therapy is,
Yes.
what happens in therapy, what type of person can go to therapy, what are the types of therapy. That's something that I've sought to sort of destigmatize and make more
Mm,
accessible. Because I think when
mm,
people know more, they're better informed.
exactly.
Um, but yeah, I think
Okay.
all of that has locked people out. And so, I mean, at the beginning of my career working in mental health services, I found that I could be working in very diverse areas, but
Hmm.
that would not be represented in services
Yeah.
because the people from other backgrounds did not think the services were for them or did
Okay.
not perceive it that way. They would rather go to
Yeah.
church or um,
Mm,
mosque or community groups
yeah.
than to go to the services
This-
that were supposed to be designed to help them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I have so many questions, but I'll stay on track. So then, in terms of then you going into doing psychology,
Yeah.
how was that received by your family?
Yeah, fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ah.
My family are very laid back about it, and they've been very supportive throughout the journey.
Oh,
Yeah, I never
good.
had to. I was never forced to do any particular profession.
Yeah.
I've got to choose, and they've been great.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
And then still sticking to your early life and career. So you're currently a highly specialist psychological therapist.
Hmm.
Firstly, before I even continue, is there a difference between someone being called a therapist and someone being called a psychologist?
Hmm. So the title therapist and
Mm-hmm.
also psychologist is they're unregulated terms in
Right.
and of themselves. Therapist, the word therapist is generally used as an overarching term for all the different types of therapists. That might include a counselor,
Yeah.
that might include a psychologist, that might include a physiotherapist, that might include a psychotherapist, that might include even a massage
Okay. Okay.
therapist.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, if we're talking about talking therapies, it's overarching. A psychologist is an unregulated term,
Okay.
but there are some terms that are specifically regulated in the UK. So things like clinical psychologist or
Mm,
counselling psychologist,
mm,
health psychologist. So with some of these, you have to be registered with something called the Healthcare Professions Council, the
okay.
HCPC, in order to call yourself that and in order to practice as that in this country. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, that's really good to know, actually.
And so with like a psychologist, you would
Yeah.
have to be trained usually at doctoral level, sometimes at
Mm-hmm.
master's level, depending on what type or what route you go for.
Right.
And then registered. So it's to show that you've kind of had this level of education and you're licensed. And,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Learning something new. Thank you.
Sure.
So yeah, so I had a look at your LinkedIn. And so you have a very extensive academic trajectory.
Okay.
And you're also still very young.
Yeah, well, apparently so.
Yeah, well, depending on who you ask, if you ask the Gen Zs and all that,
Oh,
they
they'll
may
say,
say,
oh my
yeah.
lord, yeah.
But so I wanted to ask whether you could just talk us through your academic route and also whether what you did is the typical route that, psychologists in the UK would take or how yours differs.
Yeah, I was really lucky in that I knew what I wanted to do from young, and I think a lot of people don't have that opportunity.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned before, I researched on prospects and was able to know like, okay, this is the route, and this is kind of the trajectory. Um, so I did a lot of research. I started off with my first degree in psychology. So at the time, I knew that I wanted to do the doctorate.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was all about meeting the entry requirements to get onto the doctorate. And I knew that I needed the first degree in psychology with at least a 2-1
Yeah.
and a minimum of a year's work experience in the field.
Yeah.
So what I did is I applied for placement courses where I could do like a 2-in-1, so that by the time I finished my degree, I know I would have everything. um, I didn't get my chosen universities, but I ended up getting into a university through clearing that did a
Okay.
placement course.
Yeah.
So I did that, and did my placements, and then I tried to apply straight out of uni. I also, whilst I was in uni, I went to the different doctorate open days just so that I could really inform myself.
Yeah.
And be aware of the different courses and what they offer and what do I like and what unis do I want to apply to.
Yeah.
And I had a table that I made with all the unis. There were 7 unis at the time that did the doctorate in London.
Uh-huh.
And so looking at all the unis, the fees, the entry requirements, and just like a comparison table so that I knew what I was aiming at.
Yeah.
And then after that, what did I do? Oh yeah, I applied straight out of uni. I got shortlisted for one interview, and the rest I got declined.
Okay. Is it quite competitive?
Okay. It is.
Okay.
The counselling psychology doctorate is less competitive than the clinical psychology doctorate because the clinical is funded, NHS funded, whereas the counselling is self-paid.
Yeah.
So it's less competitive, but still competitive.
Yeah.
And so I went to the interview, didn't get offered on that occasion. So now it was like, okay, my plan is let's start.
Yeah.
What do I do next? So then I tried to look at some other like psychology related professions, just as like a segue. I went to see the careers advisor at my uni.
Okay.
And we spoke about it. And she said she wished that she could clone me. She wished that every student was like me because I knew what I wanted.
I was about to say, yeah.
Yeah. And so I tried a few of the others. I tried applying for training as a psychological wellbeing practitioner. That's an NHS funded course as well. I didn't get that. So, but when I did get declined from the uni that I had the interview with, they said they would, however, recommend that I do the graduate certificate in counselling psychology.
Okay.
And so they did that there, which is like, it's a postgraduate course. It's like a master's level, but not master's length. It's not like a full master's.
Yeah.
So it's a postgraduate diploma. And they said that it helps to prepare, it's a year long, and it helps to prepare you for the doctorate. So I said, okay, and I did that. So that was a self-pay course. It was a year. It was once a week on a Wednesday.
Okay.
So then I got a full-time job working at Mind, the mental health charity. And I did the full-time hours in the 4 days, and then the Wednesday was my uni day. Did that for a year. And I also chose to work at Mind so that I could get more work experience in the field. I had a good manager who's quite understanding. And so she helped me to get the one-to-one experience as well, where it wasn't necessarily part of my role.
Yeah.
And the role that I had was like almost like to publicize the service and an NHS service as well in conjunction.
Yeah.
So I would like go around the county to like lots of different events and put up stores and talk to people about our services and learn about their services as well.
Yeah.
So it really helped me to get a good understanding, very good understanding of the landscape.
Yeah.
And also, like, I was very intentional about, it's going to sound really geeky, but about noting what I like and what I don't like. And so I would like be voice recording, like, okay, I went to this event today and this and this and this. I like that they approach things in this way, but I don't like this.
Yeah.
Because I think all of that, and I do encourage people to do that along their
Yeah.
career journey, all of that helped to form me as a practitioner.
Yeah.
And even in terms of my own work, like what I value, what I would like to, you know, promote, and what I wouldn't, or what I think
Exactly.
doesn't work.
Exactly.
So yeah, that was good. And then I applied again during that year,
Yeah.
and I got in this time. So
Amazing.
that was great. That was also the first year that student finance were doing doctoral loans, so that was
Okay.
great.
Okay. So they
So that
didn't do
made
that
it more
before.
accessible.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it all worked out.
Yeah.
And then yeah, that was that. Did that. I finished the taught part of the course within the 3 years. So it was yeah, I finished the taught part of the course within the 3 years, 2021. But by the time I reached the end, I was burnt out. The course is very intensive. You have your uni work and your assignments. You have your placements.
Yeah.
And your placements are free. Nothing is paid.
Yeah.
And
Ooh,
then
okay.
yeah, they actually tell you not to work for 3 years, and it's just a bit like
yeah. Wow.
So yeah, and then I was working as well to
Yeah.
have some money.
Of course. Of course.
And there were costs. There was like the cost of, you know, you had a certain number of hours of personal therapy you had to do, which was £70 an hour.
Oh, you had to pay for that?
Yes, you do. You you had if your placement didn't have a psychologist on the placement to supervise you, you had to go and pay for external supervision. That's 65 an hour, and you had to have a certain ratio of supervision. So 8 hours of therapy, of you doing therapy to 1 hour of supervision. So you
Wow.
Yeah, and you had a certain number of hours to do on your placements. You had obviously the books, the transport. So it wasn't like cost free.
Absolutely.
It was a lot of unexpected or hidden costs.
Wow.
And it was hard. And then I had some challenging experiences on the placements as well.
Okay.
Racism, that really impacted me. So by the end, I was done. So it actually took me a while to finish my thesis.
Yeah.
I was not only the burnout, but I was also keen financially to get some money.
Absolutely.
And so I started applying for jobs towards the end of the course.
Yeah.
I managed to get one.
Okay.
And then I've been in that kind of NHS trust since.
Yeah.
And then also private practice.
Exactly.
Finally finished my thesis this year, which meant I was able to finally put an end to my doctorate after 7 years. And so yeah, all done. And yeah.
Well, first of all, congratulations. That's amazing. That's amazing. And you know what? Like in the lead up to this conversation, there were so many reasons as to why I was excited. But when you were talking initially, the reason why I was smiling was because, so as you know, the first time we met, I told you that I did psychology, and I clearly did not do all this planning ahead, which is why then I was like, oh, hurdle this way and this and the third. So I feel like for anyone watching today, I hope that what you get from what Nikita has said is plan and know like what clear trajectory you want to go down. But I guess my question for you is, you talked obviously about burnout, and I want us to go to that later on in the conversation. But there were obviously so many things along the way. So what kept you motivated and actually pushing through for the last 7 years?
What kept me motivated? I think knowing what my end goal was. It's something I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
I always used to say, like, I admire people who work in jobs that they don't love, but I don't think I can do it. I don't.
Yeah.
Wanting to help people. The feeling that you get when you're in the room with a client and you're helping someone, or you've been helping someone and they're better.
Yeah.
Or they suddenly have this revelation and it changes their life.
Yeah.
It's very gratifying. Or even that you just get to sit with someone in a really difficult period of life, and even if it's not happily ever after, like you got to be,
Yeah.
you got the privilege of being the person to walk through it with them.
Exactly.
That kept me going. To be honest, friends and family, I had so many
Mm.
times I wanted to quit. At
Mm.
some point, I didn't believe that I could finish it because
Mm.
the thesis itself was 40,000 words,
Okay.
or the word count was 40 to 45,000, and then you had other parts of the portfolio to
Yeah.
submit as well. Um, so in total, mine was about 78,000. Yeah. So even just the idea of 40,000 words is what kept me running away
Yes.
from finishing it for years.
Yeah.
At one point, I was like, I want to quit. I can't. And I was saying to my friends and family, I think I'm gonna quit, and they were like, "You're gonna what?" Like you, I
Don't think
didn't hear
about
you. So
it.
it wasn't really an option.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
And then when I felt like I'd done enough procrastinating and gained enough energy, and also when I felt limited
Yeah.
by the fact that I hadn't finished and I
Yeah.
wanted to do other things, I was like, okay, well, let's do it. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. And then just to clarify two things that you touched on. So has the program kind of changed now? So people get paid during placements now,
No,
or it's still self-funded in.
self-funded and it's more expensive now.
So are they trying to dissuade people from? Do you see what I mean? Like I
I
don't
get what you're
understand how someone is
saying.
meant to survive and actually push through, and we need more resources and more people in those spaces. So it's not, the maths is not mathing
The
right
maths
now.
is not mathing. So this is why clinical psychology is highly competitive, because that's
Yeah.
the funded one.
Right.
Not only are you funded, but you're also paid at a
Yeah.
good salary. And so that's why it's highly competitive. And on average, people apply 5 times before
Oh
they get in.
wow.
So it'll be
Okay.
like 5 years in a row. Some people more. Yep.
Wow.
And so that's then continuing to work at sort of entry level,
Yeah.
and managing whilst you're trying and trying and trying, and then
Wow.
so that's why that's competitive.
Yes.
Historically, this sort of profession was more a second profession for people.
Okay.
So you'll have like stories. Some of my lecturers would say that they remortgaged their houses in
Right.
order to be able to do the
Okay.
doctorate. However, some of us didn't have houses to
Yeah.
remortgage.
Yeah.
And I did notice there is a difference when people do come in as a second profession or later on in life, because there is a level of maturity or just knowing what you want, having
Mhm.
lived life.
Mhm.
But for some of us, we just had a different path.
Exactly.
So yeah, it does exclude people. It does also exclude diversity as
Yeah.
well.
Wow.
If you don't have that, or you don't have granddad savings or whatever that can help
Exactly.
you,
Yeah, absolutely.
it's really tough.
And
Yeah.
are you aware now of any like organizations or anyone that helps people who are trying to go into counseling psychology, or no?
No, not really. What
That's
helps
so
people
interesting.
financially, or just
Yeah.
no? Other than student finance.
Yeah.
So in my time, the fees were at about 9,000 and something a year. So
Mhm.
student finance didn't even fully cover it, but it
Yeah.
mostly covered the fees, and then I just topped up and then
Yeah.
had to figure out the rest. Whereas now the same uni is now 12,000. I'm pretty sure student finance won't cover all of that. So it's really like either working to save to have that,
Absolutely.
or getting a bank loan or other. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, you learn something new. Yeah, it's mind-boggling to say the
Yeah.
least.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then the other thing that I wanted to ask, so in terms of the placements, do you get a say into which placements you
You do,
can go
yeah.
into? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
no
Mm-hmm.
problem.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to check that. Okay, so now I would like us to turn the conversation to your current profession.
Oh, okay.
So what you do at the minute. So obviously when we first got to talk, I was mind blown because you talked about male prisons. And I've always been very like intrigued and drawn to like prison and like prison ministry in the church, etc. I haven't done it yet.
Okay.
But I just wanted to ask a few questions around that, especially because I know that that as a setting is very intense and a lot of people usually tend to actually run away from it. So my first question to you is, did you initially choose to work in prison?
Absolutely.
You
I
did?
did,
Okay.
yeah.
Why is that?
I when I got to the end of my doctorate, I was specifically applying for jobs in prisons. I'd done a placement in a prison.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the sort of person that when people are running that way, I'm running
Don't go live in the
towards,
US. Because when people will
yeah.
be shooting, so like you'll be running this way instead of
Yeah, yeah, it's true. I'm that kind of person.
yeah.
And so at the time, I was, even before then, I would come home. I love a good documentary. I would come home and I'll be watching crime or prison documentaries to
I love
unwind,
this. Yeah.
which is not normal at all. But I would be doing that. And so when the opportunity came to work there,
Yeah.
I definitely took it. I wanted to. I think there's something about prisons. First of all, it's sort of like a mini society on its own,
Mhm.
because you've got people live there in
Mhm.
essence. So you've got your hospital wing there.
Mm, mm, mm,
They
mm.
they live there. They work there. They
Absolutely.
do their education there. It's like a
Yeah.
little world within four
Yeah.
walls. So that's nice. It's different as well because you're not allowed to take any technology in. So you actually feel like you're in a bit of a
In your
different world.
yeah,
People actually say
absolutely.
hi and good morning. It's a
Okay.
different vibe and
Yeah.
culture. And there's something about people being there and being at a really difficult time in their life that forces them to be reflective,
Mm,
and forthcoming.
mm.
And so it's nice to have the opportunity to catch someone, especially someone who would not otherwise have accessed therapy,
Yeah.
and to be able to offer them support or offer them understanding,
Yeah.
offer them a trauma informed approach that actually,
Mm,
okay, yes, you've done all these things, yes, you've made all these poor choices,
yeah.
but can we see how trauma has informed you
Exactly.
and informs even your experience and your symptoms now,
Yeah.
and how can we work through that? And
Mm.
so yeah, it's been really interesting work. I really did love it.
Okay,
Yeah.
amazing. And you've kind of answered, yeah, my other question about what that experience was like. But I guess what surprised you the most about the incarcerated men, and what was your highest point, your best moment, and your biggest learning point being in the prisons?
What surprised me the most? Um, they're very open. I
Mm,
feel that people have this um, movie kind of idea
yeah,
of people who are in prison.
yeah.
And also, whilst I was on training, I heard people say things like, "Oh, I could work with anyone, but not someone who's like abused someone," or "I could work with
Mm,
someone, but not this," or "I could work with someone, but not this." And it's actually just realizing that they're people.
yep, yep.
Um, so yeah, that's been interesting. I remember my very first client on placement in a prison,
Mm-hmm.
that read their file up, and it was really intimidating. Um, and like, oh, they're in here for something quite serious. And then when I went to meet the client and introduce myself, they had braces, and
Okay.
I was just like, oh, like you're just a person, like
That's not who I expected.
no, really not intimidating, very chill.
Yeah,
And so don't get me wrong, people can be and can behave intimidating, but it's not the setting or the circumstances that necessarily
mm,
make them
okay.
that. And I do think some people, I witness a lot of people come in and leave.
Right.
Some people come into prisons and they are scared. And when you
Right,
bring
right, right.
fear, and even when I would get a new staff member, I would say to them, if you lead with fear, this is not going to be a good experience for you,
Right, okay.
because they can smell fear.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
I've
like
always
dogs,
heard that.
they can smell
Yeah.
fear, and they will not only, because if you think about it as well, you have a group of people that have, I don't say misbehaved, but yeah, naughty people all in one environment.
Yeah,
So it's not going to be cute. If they sense that you're afraid, they will
exactly.
pick on you, they will bully you, they will try to get you to do things that you're not allowed to do.
Yeah.
So you have to lead with confidence, and you have to lead with, um, yeah, you're human. So what? Like, you
Mm-hmm.
have to lead with that,
Mm-hmm.
and it helps people. It helps people to be
Mm,
able to receive you.
yeah.
So yeah,
Did you ever feel like because you're a woman, they felt like they could intimidate you?
I didn't really feel like that.
Okay.
Um, I didn't really. I think it's. I don't. I don't really like to find myself in certain situations, and I
Yeah.
don't really give people certain opportunities.
Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm.
Sometimes there are some people you find always caught up in situations like
How?
how. But I do think, particularly in prisons, I think it's a lot to do with how you carry yourself, a
Right.
lot to do with how you carry yourself and
Yeah.
what you give people the opportunity to do or not
Mm-mm.
to do, and how you respond.
Yeah.
And even like learning, you might feel something internally, but you have to respond differently.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a
Okay.
huge responsibility.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I really like that. And then okay, so obviously therapists, be it therapists, working the prisons or wherever else, you guys hold a space for incredibly heavy like stories and people's circumstances, etc. So what emotional support system exists for psychologists, be it psychologists in training or qualified psychologists, and do you feel like those are enough?
Mm. When I was training, so during training generally,
Yeah.
you or counseling psychology training.
Yeah.
I can't speak for other
Clinical
trainings.
psych, yeah.
During counseling psychology training, you have to have personal therapy.
Okay.
It's mandatory.
That you
You have
pay
to
for.
have, yes, that you pay for,
Can't believe
and you have
that.
to have a certain number of hours. So I had to have 45 hours across the 3 years,
Right.
which worked out during term time as once every 2 weeks.
Okay. Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, and that was really good. I picked a black psychologist, counseling
Mm,
psychologist, who'd actually trained at my uni as well.
okay.
So what was really cool is that it felt like I was sitting across from the person that I would become,
Absolutely.
and the representation was
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
And equally, it felt I could see what she was doing that I was doing to
Yeah.
people. Like I could see her using the techniques on me, and I could
Ah.
also experience what it was like to be a client and how difficult it is to open up,
Yeah.
and how like you have to, and so yeah, it
Yeah.
was a really good experience. But that was there as a support as well, because I went through quite a few tough experiences during the doctorate. Towards the end of first year, my grandma died, and she
Sorry.
helped to bring me up. So that was really, oh,
Yeah.
that was really tough. And yeah, she was there. My therapist was there for
Yeah.
me, and helped me to understand myself through everything, and to process things.
Yeah.
Because as I was training, but also moving onwards, I find that if I have an emotional quotient, like if I were to rate it on a scale of 100, I probably use about 90%
Okay.
for my work and my clients.
Yeah.
So I've only got 10% left for myself. So if I'm having a difficulty in my personal life,
Yeah.
spills over. It's really difficult to
Exactly.
I find that difficult to manage. I have a lot of capacity for my clients. You can literally tell me anything. I could
Yeah.
probably handle it. There's very few things that I will take home with me or that will
Yeah.
really deeply affect me. Um, but in my personal life, it's like I'm more sensitive because I don't have that much room
Exactly.
for it. So as a therapist, you would know that you can access personal therapy for yourself,
Right.
and that it's important too.
Yeah.
But the other thing that it's taken time to learn is also just to live a life that is conducive um, for that. Realizing that you use your emotions for your job, and
Mm,
therefore you have to be okay. You have to be okay. You have to be well. You have to be healthy.
absolutely.
Um, so for me, when I log off, I'm not a therapist. I'm Nikita. I
I love
don't
that.
do free therapy for friends.
I love that.
I don't step into that mode.
Yeah.
I'm Nikita. I have opinions,
Yeah.
and I bring me, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Um, and I think sometimes, and I did find this in training, like sometimes people would expect that of you, or talk to you in a certain way, or even avoid you because they don't want to burden you with their problems. And I've kind of just made my friends know, like I'm me, and when I've logged off,
Exactly.
I've logged off.
Yeah.
And so that's really important for me to preserve my sense of self,
Mm,
and to have hobbies and things that I like to do outside. And yeah, and then just seeking support from friends and family, and knowing that it's actually okay to also go through things and have
mm-hmm.
issues, and not
Mm-hmm.
to think, oh, because I'm this, so I
Yeah.
need to have it all figured out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. So it seems like it's very confronting and then finding that balance. And I have an unrelated question. Because also you mentioned that the therapist that you had when you were doing your placement and your doctorate was a black woman, and you saw that representation, etc. Um, And so this is general advice for people out there, because that's another conversation that often people have where they don't feel like they have found the right therapist for them. Do you feel like you should find someone who has a background or an upbringing that can relate to yours? Or do you feel like that's not important because of the expertise that they have, and they would still be able to comprehend some of the things that you're saying and relate to that?
That's interesting. Interesting question. I think it's knowing yourself. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's also knowing what you're bringing to
Yeah.
work on and what your needs are. A lot of the time when I have clients, so with my private practice, 95% of my clients are black,
Yeah.
or from sort of other cultures, other backgrounds, and they would say to me, I just didn't feel like I had the time to explain my culture. So it's more about the cultural competence of who
Yeah.
you're with, not necessarily their background.
Right.
And I think when someone is going through something, and I think this also has to do with the skepticism within our society.
Mm, mm,
I think when someone is going through something, the last thing that they want is to feel that they're going to be misunderstood, or like that
absolutely.
they're going to be in trouble for what they
Absolutely.
share. And so it's really about finding someone that has that cultural humility, cultural understanding, and
Mm,
curiosity. I
yeah.
think, though, sometimes when you see someone from a certain culture or from your culture, um, as a therapist, you can make assumptions, and that's not
Mm,
always helpful either.
that's true.
Or you can have standards. This is how we do things. What's that all about? That I've heard that as well, that people have had those kind of experiences with their therapist as well.
Yeah.
Because the whole idea of therapy is going to um, a stranger,
Yeah.
going to someone who is impartial,
Mm-hmm.
um, and not involved, and so
Yeah.
you don't really want that replicated.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Mm,
sometimes you have, okay, someone has had negative experiences with men, so they can't go to a male therapist, which
absolutely.
is understandable. However, on the other hand, it might be that going to a male therapist and having a good experience might
Will
redeem
change. Yeah.
their relationship with men. So
Absolutely.
there is no sort of prescription. It's
Yeah.
more about you and what you feel you need. I think at the time, I felt, when I was going for a black psychologist, I felt like I was aiming at being something that I had never seen before.
Right.
I hadn't seen that representation. And
Yeah.
so it was important for me to find it and see it in front of me to help me know that
Yeah.
it was achievable and attainable, because I was one of the youngest in my course as well,
Okay.
as well as one of the only black people. And so I needed to not feel so alien.
Absolutely.
And it was really helpful.
Oh,
Yeah.
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So for anyone out there, see, don't say I don't help you out. Free advice. Okay, so you actually talked about your private practice.
Yes.
Therapyish.
Yes.
Okay, so I wanted us to talk a little bit more about that. So what was firstly the inspiration behind the name?
Oh, I don't know. I just
I like
wanted it
it.
to be. Thank you. I've heard that I'm good with names. I wanted it to be about therapy,
Yeah.
because some people would be like, "Oh, Nikita therapy practice," or like use their
Yeah,
name.
yeah.
First of all, I wanted it to be more than me. It is
Oof.
me at the moment,
Yeah.
but it will be more than me.
Mm,
My aim is to make it like a bigger thing.
yeah.
Um, and so that's one. Two, I wanted it to be about therapy, um, but not too formal, accessible, and destigmatizing. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's why I added the
Mm-hmm.
ish on the
I like
end.
it. Yeah.
And so yeah, so that's what I did,
Yeah.
and it's been really cool. Yeah.
Exactly. No, it's a cool name, and as you said, like it just makes it a little bit less taboo when you
Yeah.
add the ish, because it's like it could be so many things that are discussed, when it comes to therapy, as you said in the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay, so many therapists actually choose to go down the locum route, or at least in the UK, that's what I know for most people. But you obviously have opted for your own practice instead. So, what were some of the challenges that you faced with running that, or that you're still facing? And then, why did you opt for? Yeah, I mean, you kind of touched upon that, your own therapy as opposed to the locum route, which usually people choose because of flexibility and financial reasons why, right? But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so what are some of the challenges that you faced, and like, why did you still choose to pursue the
The
practice instead of
private
the locum?
practice.
Yeah.
So I do both work in a service, in an
Mm-hmm.
NHS service, and then private practice.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. So initially, when I was going into working in the NHS, I wanted to understand what an established system looks like,
Mm.
understand what it's like to function as a psychologist within a system,
Yeah.
and just experience that. In terms of the private practice, it's something I've always wanted to do. Always, even from before I knew the route that I was going down,
Yeah.
I always envisioned the end goal being me having my private practice and
Yeah.
you know doing my practice, doing trainings and all sorts of things. And so that was my end goal. And so when the opportunity came, I was really keen to do it. I'm a very creative person as a person. I love to do things. I love to
Yeah.
create things. I love to have an idea and bring it to execution
Yeah.
in all sorts of ways, in cooking, in events,
Mm-hmm.
in literally tell me anything. Tell me, okay, we're going to do this, and we're doing it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be like, okay, so we need to do this, we need to do that, and
Yeah.
so being able to like think, okay, a therapy practice, how would I want to do it, and and to think about, okay, how do I want to reach people? Who do I
Mm-hmm.
want to
Mm.
target, or in what way do I
Yeah.
want to? Because at the time as well, therapy wasn't really how to even explain it. I don't know how to explain it. It was really a sort of, things have changed a little bit now, but it was really a sort of inaccessible profession. A lot of therapist websites were very bland,
Yeah.
uh, Times New Roman font, and very unaesthetically
Yeah.
pleasing, no picture,
Yeah.
or some very badly taken selfie. Like, it wasn't really, there's nothing that would make me trust you and come to
Absolutely.
you and open up to you. And so
Absolutely.
I wanted to be different,
Yeah.
and I wanted to try, actually no. And the thing is that it's all in line with different therapy approaches as well. So some
Mm.
approaches believe that the therapist should be a blank canvas and shouldn't
Okay.
impose themselves
Okay.
on the it should be like completely blank, so that
Yeah.
it's all about the client. I don't necessarily hold that belief. I believe that I also need to be in the room, and
Yeah.
it's important. And
Absolutely.
so I try to bring that ethos throughout my work, and the excellence, and all of that helps to build trust. So yeah, it was really exciting to be able to do all that. I did a podcast as well, which will be coming back soon.
You'll have to plug it at the end.
Yeah, and so just sort of talking about therapy relevant topics and helping people to
Yeah.
understand what therapy is, and if it's
Exactly.
for them, and to remove the stigma and the shame behind
Exactly.
accessing the support.
Yeah, no, I really love that. And thank you. So, yeah, as you said, like, I think the main thing that I'm hearing from our conversation today is really just about what has kept you pushing through and through and still keeps you going. And even with the private practice, is the impact and just really changing the narrative that people have had and that stigma around that, etc. And just, yeah, pushing
Yeah,
through the apprehension.
yeah.
Yeah, I really like that.
Yeah, and you asked what were some of the challenges.
Yeah.
Um, so I started in 2020, and
Mm-hmm.
so that was COVID times. Everyone wanted therapy, and then George Floyd, Black Lives
Yeah,
Matter.
yeah,
So
yeah,
my
yeah.
client base skyrocketed. So that was
Yeah.
amazing. But I came in on a high, not realizing it was a high, and I thought, oh, this is successful. Okay, this is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
And then lockdown sort of unlocked in 2021, and everyone had to redirect their money towards summer.
That's
So
true.
then
That's true.
my client base literally halved.
Really?
So that was an interesting
Yeah.
thing, and navigating stability of, like, and ethical practice.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to have a stable client base because
Yeah.
that's your income,
Absolutely.
but you don't want to shove therapy in people's faces,
Right.
force people to have more sessions than they need to for your financial
Yeah.
gain. So it's
Yeah.
all, you
That's
don't want to
true.
do that because that's unethical, and that's not helpful to the client either.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of, for sort of balancing all of these
Exactly.
things, which then having a job can help with and
Yeah,
supplement.
absolutely.
And so yeah, figuring out how to have a consistent influx. And
Mm-hmm.
the, clients disappearing in summer is not a me thing. It's a speaking to other therapists and even coaches, it's something that happens universally.
Okay,
Summer months
okay.
tend to be quiet, and
Ah,
so then it's also
they're
figuring
busy
out,
enjoying.
yes, and then they come back in the
Yeah.
winter. So then it's also figuring out, okay, how do I diversify my income,
Yeah,
and still keep going, and yeah.
exactly. Wow,
Mhm.
okay. That's really interesting. Thank you. And then, so next, I would like us to turn the conversation a little bit because I had a look at the website and we've also spoken about it throughout the course of this conversation. Stigma. We talked a lot about stigma. And so I thought about something. So obviously, as I mentioned, I met Nikita a few weeks ago at a 2020 levels conversations that matter event, and it was actually an autism awareness session with Nikita's husband, Carl. And those of you who are TikTokers and people out there, you would have probably heard of him. And actually, the colleague I was telling you about, she's actually heard about your husband.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So he was the guest speaker. And what really actually drew me to them was when he was speaking, he kept looking at this lady in the corner. And I was thinking, wow, because people always write their list about like what it is that they want in like their future marriage or whatever else. And I was like, I would really love to be my husband's safe space and for him to be mine. And like the way he kept looking at her, I was like, wow, like this is actually what safety looks like. But anyways, I digress. So he talks about his journey with autism, and he is a big advocate for obviously autism awareness in the workplace. So I wanted to first ask, how does autism differ or potentially fall into your expertise?
It really doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah, it really doesn't. So when you're studying psychology, you don't really, unless the courses have changed, you don't really spend that much time learning about neurodiversity
Right.
or those sort of differences, or at least you didn't when I was studying and training.
Yeah.
And I had had maybe some work experience working with adults with autism,
Yeah. Okay.
just like yeah, in working life.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I didn't know too much about it, and I definitely didn't know, because the people that I worked with were non-verbal.
Yeah.
I didn't know what autism presented like
Mm, mm,
in
mm.
an adult
Yeah.
who, um, didn't need so much support with their functioning.
Yeah.
And so it's been a real learning curve, but it's also helped in my professional life as well, because it
Yeah.
also means that I'm able to spot and support people in my work as well.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Okay, no problem. And I don't want to like obviously dig too much into like private life because I have to be mindful of that. But I suppose then for your own learning and like in better understanding even how the dynamics of your relationship look like, what did you do to kind of learn more? Did you read anything or was it through conversations with Carl or like what was it?
Oh, that's funny. Um, when we first met, I asked him, "How does your autism affect you?" And he said, "Oh, I just don't make eye contact sometimes."
Okay.
That's all he said. He, both him and I,
Yeah.
have been on a journey of learning and understanding
Oh,
his autism and how it
yeah.
affects him as an adult.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the autism awareness has come from as well, from
Mm,
his own learning
yeah.
journey, or our learning journey as well.
Yeah.
Um, so remind me of the question.
Oh no, so yeah, I was just asking how then you got to learn a bit more and actually become more aware and how that impacted on the dynamics of your relationship.
Yeah,
So throughout
it's been a journey.
communication.
Communication. I did lots of research. I always do research. I'm still doing research. All the time.
Yeah.
You're really choosing here. I'm always doing lots of research just to understand. Taking note of things that I notice as
Yeah.
well. Um, so at one point in our relationship, I made a list of all the ways that I had noticed that his autism affected him, and
Mm.
ways that I had noticed that he was coping.
Yeah.
That's kind of my psychology brain coming in as well, but just to help him to understand as well.
Exactly.
Um, and just so that we're clear, because I guess he processes things differently and
Yeah.
copes with things differently.
Yeah.
And if you're not intentional about noticing it, you won't.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, just being aware of that and aware of how it interacted in our dynamic. It wasn't necessarily the easiest journey,
Mm-hmm.
um, but it would come through disagreements, misunderstandings,
Yeah,
communication, and just trying to figure out and understand each other. And
exactly.
for me, I've said this on other occasions before, but it's almost like I had to put my offenses down, or put my propensity to be offended down, to be like, okay, what's really going on? Because it's like, okay, what you've done is interesting. I could take it this way,
Yeah,
or I could seek to understand what's going on and what's causing this, and
yeah.
yeah.
That's so good. And that must have really helped in even, yeah, your marriage and your relationship. Because then I'm thinking now about even people who don't have autism, like everyone is quick to be offended. But actually, sometimes when you take a step back and you look at the core, like someone is not malicious, maybe they're responding like this. It could be even trauma, it could be something else. And actually, when you take a step back to understand and then learn how to respond, but also communicate that, then that obviously creates harmony and peace in the relationship. So
Yeah.
I really like that. And then, so there's still obviously, we've spoken about stigma, stigma, stigma.
Yeah.
Even, in our community, there's a lot of, there are a lot of stereotypes and there's a lot of stigma around autism. And so in you then starting to date him, etc., what was the reaction like with your family and your loved ones, and how did you navigate that? And what would be your advice to someone out there who's in a similar situation?
Yeah, I think it was a learning process for
Yeah.
both families. Um, so from my side and for his side, just in terms of learning and understanding.
Yeah.
Um, from my family side, learning and understanding about his autism, which his TikTok has definitely helped with. My mum is always saying to him, "I watch your TikTok." And on his side as well, just being, they were very protective over him, so just being open to me and
Yeah.
open to something different, maybe different from their expectations.
Yeah.
So yeah, it wasn't necessarily always an easy journey, but I think we're there.
Yeah.
I think being married is great because people respect that. And that's lovely,
Yeah.
to have that. But what would my advice be? So me and Carl, it's interesting. So I was looking at pictures of when we were dating yesterday, and we were so happy. And we
Girl, you're so happy now.
still
About
are.
to,
We
the way
still
my
are.
sis was cheesing when we
Oh
started talking about
gosh,
it.
we still are. But we just we knew we were each other's person straight away. We just did. We just were inseparable, and it just was.
Yeah.
And even if it didn't make as much sense to people around us, or wasn't what people expected,
Yeah.
it just made sense to us.
Yeah.
I think what I would have done though in hindsight is realizing and understanding that it takes people time sometimes to acclimatize.
So what made you be so sure that like this is my person?
I will always say that Carl's the kindest person I've ever met. He really genuinely is when he wants to be. Now he turns it on and off, but before it was 24/7. He's genuinely the kindest person I've ever met. What I know about Carl is that he won't intentionally hurt me.
Okay, so what would you say are misconceptions that you wish more people would let go of? And what's the reality that people need to understand when it comes to autism?
Wow, okay. Misconceptions that I wish people would let go of.
Yeah.
How honest do you want me to be?
Honest.
They are the same, they would be the same misconceptions that I had to let go of myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I met Carl, so we met online. I came across his profile and I screenshotted it. I'd run out of likes. So I know. I was serious. So I was like, okay, if I see him again, I'll send him a like and we'll go for it. And I did.
Wow, look at God.
And then the rest is history, as they say. But I knew about his autism because I did what we like to call a DBS check.
Yeah.
Did a little background check, found his social media, asked people about him.
Yeah.
So I knew he had autism, but I didn't know how it affected him. And I definitely had to pray. I'm a Christian. I did have to pray, not because of anything, not because of anything that I saw, but because of maybe my own misconceptions of autism.
Mm.
My own, I literally, my prayer was, God, take every bit of stigma out of me. Like,
Wow. Yeah.
yeah, I had to pray that.
Yeah.
And something that has been a journey, is because, and I think I do the same to him. You don't necessarily show your capability on the tin. As
Yeah.
people, we don't
Absolutely.
necessarily. And so I think sometimes misconceiving or misunderstanding autism has meant not necessarily understanding his capabilities,
Mm, mm, mm,
trusting
mm.
him with
Mm.
that,
Yeah.
um, being overprotective
Yeah.
and whatnot. And so, actually, not, what's the word? It's not parentify, it's the opposite. Not making him a child in my mind is probably one of the biggest
Yeah.
misconceptions that I've had to get over, and the other people as
That's so
well.
real.
I hear people talking about him sometimes, or saying things about him to his face, like, or like, oh, like, if I'm with him, and then, oh, because like, yeah, he can hear you and he can understand you and he can respond,
Wow.
and like, do you know what I mean? There's
Okay.
actually an advert that I've seen, and it's an advert where people with all kinds of disabilities, Down syndrome, all kinds of things, are in a club,
Yeah.
and they're drinking and all sorts of things. And basically, the aim behind the advert is to show you that they are, even though they have additional needs, they are adults. They're
Yeah.
not children. And I think
Wow.
sometimes we do that in society. We can be very patronizing. We can exclude people.
That's true.
We can underestimate people. I think it happens a lot in the workplace as well.
Absolutely.
And rather than just humbling yourself enough to ask what the person's needs are, or to be curious about what their needs are and how it affects them, and not to just fill in all the blanks and assume
Yeah.
that they need to be a child. And so, Carl's favorite saying is, "I'll prove people wrong," and he always does.
I love that.
But I also wish he didn't have to.
I was going to say, doesn't it get tiring?
I think it must do.
Yeah.
He's got an enormous amount of energy and
Yeah.
resilience and everything, but I do wish he didn't have to.
Yeah.
That actually people would just take him at face value,
Exactly.
and as he is,
Yeah.
and that the stigma or hearing I've got autism wouldn't make people go, oh, okay, so that means you
Exactly.
can't. Yeah.
No, thank you for that. That makes a lot of sense. And so, in terms of people then being able to better support or being able to be better allies or advocates or whatever, you would say it's just having the conversations and removing the stigma and wait till you're in that situation with that person to have the conversation, for example, so that if there's a way in which you need to adapt from your norm with other people, you can do so, but not assuming, oh, they're a child,
Don't
they can't
assume the
understand.
adaptations. Ask.
Mm,
Yeah. And I find that the stigma is not only like in the person who carries it, but it also affects the person who it's towards. And
yeah.
so, for example, if I worked with you and I always behaved like you were incompetent,
Yeah.
eventually you're going to start to believe it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're going to start to even behave it.
Yeah.
And with Carl as well, I have found that sometimes, he can sometimes lack the confidence in certain things that he can do,
Yeah.
because of sometimes how, like, people behave. And
Exactly.
so I try to not do, and it's like it's a trust thing.
Yeah.
It's about you trusting the person, inquiring about their needs, and trusting that if they have a need or if they have an issue, as long as you've made it sure that they're open to discuss that there with
Yeah.
you, that they will bring it up. And otherwise you trust and you
Exactly.
assume, if that makes sense.
It does.
And so with because sometimes also, if you ask, I'm sure if you ask Carl what he can do and what he can't do, he'll underplay it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
also
Naturally. Yeah.
trusting and not coddling, if that makes sense. And so
Exactly.
even with like cooking, for example, Carl makes he when the things that he can cook, he cooks better than me. He actually does. I'm not even joking. His jollof rice is great.
Really?
Yes. And when he does cook, even though he's made it like 20 million times,
Yeah.
we might be in the same house, he'll still call me. Oh yeah, so the tomatoes, and the onions, and I'm just like, no, I won't answer the phone, or I won't come.
Yeah.
and I'll just leave him, and then a couple of hours later it will be ready and it will be perfect
Oh, I like
because
that.
I'm trusting him. And actually,
Absolutely.
this isn't part of your needs, so
Yeah.
go for it. Like, do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that trust is also important in
Okay.
building confidence.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You'll be happy to know we're almost at the end of the video.
Sure.
I knew it was going to be fruitful and honestly really insightful, and it has been. I hope that you've enjoyed being here.
Absolutely.
But okay, so I wanted to know what has been your biggest career defining moment and why?
Biggest career defining moment. Career defining moment. Okay. I think it's actually, I think it's been cumulative,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it was actually finishing my doctorate this year.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I think I have, along the journey, obviously, I mentioned being one of the youngest in my cohort. I was also one of the only Black people in my cohort, or one of only a few. And so I've battled imposter syndrome, being in the room as a therapist for, at the time, majority of my clients were older than me,
Yeah.
several times over sometimes. And so still trying to believe that I had something to bring to the table,
Yeah.
and having to put that to the side to actually help the client as well. And I battled that throughout my journey. And then I think finishing but being burnt out, I also touched on having had experiences of racism,
Yes. Yes.
experiences where supervisors had told me really horrible things about myself, and told me that they didn't think I would ever make it, and that they were afraid to let me out into the world as a psychologist, and all sorts of things, that actually impacted me more than I thought it did at the time.
Wow.
It definitely went in. And so I battled that,
Mm-hmm.
and just my confidence in showing up.
Yeah.
And so over time, and I guess life has also happened. Obviously, getting married, and I had a point where I was ill and needed surgery. Had to take some months out, and so all of this has kind of, how to even explain what's happened. I've learned so much about myself,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and I've learned that I'm human.
Yeah.
I have flaws. I have fallibilities. I have limits, and I need to listen and attend to them. I need to take my time. I
Yeah.
need to not over push myself. I have learned that I'm human, and it's my humanity more than any training that I have that helps me to be a good therapist and a good psychologist.
Yeah.
It's my humanity that makes people able to sit with me and feel able to open up to me.
Yeah.
And I guess I've just become more assured in myself,
Uh-huh.
so that by the time I've actually reached the point of finishing my doctorate, um, I'm me. I'm not anyone else. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to be anyone else, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. And I just feel really proud of myself because it was a massive thing that I mentioned I did not think I would be able to do. Even when I finished and submitted, you have to have like something that they call a viva,
Right.
which is like an oral examination up to 3 hours where your work is scrutinized, and they ask you like, go through chapter by chapter, and they ask you, why did you do this and why didn't you do that. And I've had that. I've been grilled on my work and I passed. So it's
Well
just
done.
like, but I passed not having to fill some boots that were too big for me,
Yeah.
or not having to be anyone else,
Yeah.
or but yeah, I passed as me with all my imperfections,
Well
if that makes sense. And so I think this year, being able to complete and just knowing that I can be myself
Yeah.
and bring myself to the table, and that I am fully valid as me at the table, has been the biggest achievement of my career so far.
Well done. Mic drop.
Yeah.
I feel like, you know what? It's so interesting because when I started the graduate series,
Yeah.
it's because of people like you. I really like, it's so inspiring to even know that irrespective of all those things, and as you said, like, you're human, and you have your flaws, you have the things that our weaknesses or whatever else. You have your emotions, you have things that will come in the way, but irrespective of that, you knew what you wanted to go into and you actually did it. And like, I even forgot to ask you in the course of the conversation, obviously, how many people on the course have even dropped out, or what are the rates? Because I presume that if you go through all of that, like, it can be very challenging and real life can happen. And for people who have dropped out, they knew what the reasons were, and they're not any less than. But for people who have actually been able to see the end of it, like you, that's amazing. It's no small thing or whatever else, and you should be proud. And like the impact that you're gonna have. And as you said, like, I always have a conversation with people about therapy, because as someone who initially did my undergrad in psychology, but also who understands the way things are, like, people need therapy. I don't care what anyone wants to say out there, like, people need therapy. You need someone who you can speak to, who can help guide you, give you good coping mechanisms, etc. But a lot of people haven't necessarily had the best experience for whatever reason. But to be able to have someone who is so committed to their work and helping make a positive impact in someone else's life helps a lot. And like, it seems like everything that has led up to the end of your journey has like contributed significantly. And whoever is going to have you as a therapist is blessed, honestly.
Thank you.
So no, like, that's amazing. And honestly, like, congratulations. And as you said, it's cumulative, but you've done it. You've done it. And I'm really excited to see what's ahead.
Yes. Exciting times.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I guess, again, going back to the graduate series, the reason why we have the graduate series is to be able to inspire other people out there, especially like young people trying to go into their field. I think that's something that you touched upon in the beginning, was really how a lot of educational institutions don't even provide students with that guidance and that steering. And so you're pushed in the deep end, you're like, okay, choose your course or whatever else. And people don't know everything that's available. They don't really like map out what journey they want to go into and what their trajectory is, whereas that's something that you had done. But for anyone watching today who is looking to go into like a similar field, I guess my question to you would be, what would be your advice to them, but especially for people who come from Afro-Caribbean backgrounds, who may feel discouraged because of the apprehension and the stigma that there is around psychology and counseling?
Yeah. I think that there's a lot out there now in comparison to before.
Yeah.
I've actually recorded a video on my career, which I'm going to put out on my YouTube channel soon.
She's going to let us know the details, guys.
Yes, just with more of a deep dive.
Yeah.
But there are loads out there of people talking about their journeys.
Yeah.
So do your research. Have a look on the Prospects website. That's still up. That's still out there. That's still very helpful.
Yeah.
And what I love about the Prospects website is it's got loads of different professions, and you can click on it. You can look at the training journey. You can look at the earning potential.
Yeah.
And what a day in the life would look like. I think the other part of it is also knowing yourself, knowing what suits you, what doesn't.
Yeah.
And this might not be something that you know from the beginning.
Yeah.
But it might be something you learn along the way.
Yeah.
And so learning, like, okay, I like this, but I don't like this, and taking note of all those things because they're really helpful.
Yeah.
Speaking to people as well. LinkedIn is there. LinkedIn is an option. I've had loads of people reach out to me on LinkedIn to say, hey, do you have a minute to talk about, your career, or to talk about how we do this?
Yeah.
And some people will find that okay, this is for them and they're going to give this a try, or some people find that it's not. But it's always good to speak to people, and a lot of people are open to talking about it as well.
It's true. Yeah.
But it's really just arming yourself with the information so that you're best informed to be able to make the decision.
Absolutely. And I think like something that I took from today's conversation, even for myself, is obviously you talked about how throughout the course of the years with the different placements, etc., you would write what you liked, what you didn't like, etc., so that shapes you into obviously the therapist that you are, but also so that the things that you wouldn't tolerate, the things that you wouldn't like. And I feel like, for anyone out there, like, I think that's such a good tip. I'm going to do that because I've worked in different spaces, and it is true that you recognize certain things, like be it in the environments or in the managers or whatever. And so don't get lost in, oh, for example, this new job has this pay. Okay, but what about the environment?
Yes,
what about the colleagues? What about this?
Absolutely.
Exactly. So that's one tip that I really want to take maybe even doing the voice memos that you talked about, you
Yes,
know.
yeah.
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 I think that
Yeah.
was so good. So thank you so much.
Pleasure.
And then what would you say are practical steps that people can take to tackle apprehension and skepticism about therapy, and even about autism in our communities, in our places of worship, and in the workplace?
It's gonna be a similar answer. It's education.
Yeah.
It's education.
Yeah.
What we don't know, we tend to fear. We
Mm,
tend to fear. And
mm,
there are so many people that would come to therapy and say, I never thought I would end up here. You can hear all the stigma in all of their word choices, or, you know, and then realize that it's actually not
it's
that
okay.
bad and it's actually
Yeah.
helpful. Or people that would say, oh, what's the benefit of therapy? It's just talking. And
Yeah.
it's actually so much more
Absolutely.
than that. And when it comes to autism, again, we fear what we don't know. And so it is really researching and seeking education
Yeah.
about it, and seeking to understand and seeking to support the people in our lives who might be autistic.
Yeah.
So yeah, education. I think there's a lot of room for destigmatizing and understanding. And I always say to people, especially when it comes to therapy, I always say to people, if you had a broken leg, you're not gonna say, "Oh yeah, I'll treat it at home."
Yeah.
Ever,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
ever. If you had a
Absolutely.
broken leg, you wouldn't ignore it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't run on it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't keep going. So how much more the things that are happening internally that affect every area of our lives?
Exactly.
Why do we not attend to them? Why do we, you know? And I know that there is stigma and there's cultural expectations, there's all sorts of things, but our mental health is quite similar to our physical health.
Mm-hmm.
It is on
Mm-hmm.
a spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
It can fluctuate, or it can move to different points at different stages in time,
Yeah.
based on different factors. We can be affected by different things.
Yeah.
So it's okay that if today you're struggling, or this month or this year you're struggling because something has happened or something's impacted you, or even you don't know the reason,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay to seek help, just like you would
Exactly.
if you fell over and broke your leg today. You're not going to keep going.
Exactly.
And so, yeah, I think it's really important that we work on our own stigma, and also that it, you know that even with therapy, you don't have to like jump straight in and book 100 sessions. Mostly, you would have like an initial assessment,
Yeah.
with a therapist, which would give you a taster anyway. So you try the initial session, see how it goes. If you don't like it, you don't
Yeah.
have to continue. If you
Yeah.
do, you can go for it.
Exactly.
But just putting yourself out there, especially if you think you need or might benefit
Yeah.
from the support.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this brings us to the end. So thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. Throughout the course of the conversation, you touched upon the podcast, you touched upon the YouTube, you touched upon the website. Can you please give us the socials so that people can go check it out, people can follow you online, etc. So yeah, this is your opportunity to plug yourself.
Thank you very much. So, on social media, on TikTok. Okay, let's start there. On TikTok, I think I'm at Dr. Knickknacks.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
You're really good with the names. You're right.
apparently. On Instagram, I'm at Therapyish_UK. My website is www.therapyish.co.uk. What else? YouTube, it will be at Therapyish. So if you just Google Therapyish, all of them
You'll
should
find it.
come up.
I'll put it in the description box as well.
Yes.
Do you want to plug your hubby's socials? Or this is all you today?
Okay. My husband's TikTok is at Autism Awareness, and you can find him on there.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning in today. I hope that you enjoyed. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. Yep, go check out Nikita's socials if you have any further questions, or you want to, just educate yourself a little bit more. We talked about awareness.
Yes.
So yes, go and become aware on her side. And then please share the video with anyone who you feel may benefit from listening to the conversation and be interested in it. And I will see you all in the next one. Bye.